Hi everybody, this is Michael Collins. I'm your instructor for BUAD 301, Advanced Business Communications. This is a short-term course which runs from August 31st to October 25th. So I'm glad to see everybody here. These courses are pretty intense, so look forward to working with you all. Most people come, I'll say traditionally, most the students that come to this class are pretty motivated because they have a lot of outside things to do, and are generally more mature. So I think you'll find a class a lot easier to work with, particularly when we do teamwork, something that I'll talk a little bit more about later. As you can see right here, this is my contact information up here. The best way to reach me is by email, because usually I check that several times a day. I do have a cell phone. I use it specifically for getting in touch and talking with students. Mainly I check that about once a day. So if you feel like you want to get a hold of me, that's probably email's probably the best way. If you're in the area and you want to come by during my office hours, I'm there Wednesday 10 to noon and Thursday 9 to 11. So sometimes I'm there other times, but usually that's about it. Best if you want to reserve a slot, let me know in advance, because usually there's a line out the door, particularly during the second half of the semester. A couple of reasons. Usually I have the students that I have, particularly the 301s, they're working on cases and presentations and a whole lot of new information that they're not familiar with, new type of schoolwork that takes some adjustments. So usually I have a lot of people during the office hours, but if you know you want to come see me, let me know in advance and I'll slate a specific time, so that way you're guaranteed to get about a 10-minute slot if you need it. Okay, so let's move on. The course says this is copyrighted. That's just boilerplate stuff, so don't worry a whole lot about that. I'm not going to read the course description of objectives. Basically, you're going to come out better than when you came in. You should know how to write business communications, and also, even though this is an online course, you will be doing video presentations of yourself. So if you don't know how to do software, you need to learn real quick. Now, a lot of people come back and say, I've never done that before. If you've ever recorded anything with your cell phone, yeah, you have. But it's best, the people who do best in that part are those who do a little bit better video editing. And granted, it's pretty easy to learn, and there's all kind of resources available for you. So that excuse won't hold water. So if you want to do well, make sure that you are prepare well in advance for your online video presentations that you'll do. Prerequisites. Generally, it's assumed you've had English 101 and 201. It's essential because 201 is the format for business communications and 101 is basic literacy. I'll get more into that as we move down, but if you don't meet the minimum requirements for literacy when you do your submissions, it's an automatic failure. So make sure you do the spell and grammar check prior to submitting anything, pressing that send button. Communication, you have to use the Cal State system. Chances are, and it's happened in the past, that if you don't, stuff can get lost. So you have to stay abreast using emails or the announcements. Okay, here's the required textbooks. I get a lot of questions about this McGraw-Hill custom case book. Look for the link. That's the old ISBN that I had used in the past, but follow the link. It's not really a book. It's basically a pack of 5 PDFs that we have to buy in a block of 5 in order to do the cases. So it says it's a book, but it's not really. So it's actually a misnomer. You go to the link and download those 5 cases, and you'll use them as you prepare your cases for during the course. The other one is Management Communication Principles and Practices. A lot of people ask me questions, which is the right one, the loose leaf or the paperback. They're both the same. Doesn't really matter. I think the loose leaf is a little cheaper, but you have a harder time selling it toward the end of the course. So, use your own judgment. This is a hardware requirements. I'm not going to go over that. Basically, you should have something, a computer that's at least 5 years or younger. And computer skills, again, one of the trade-offs of taking an online course is to assume that you have better than average computer skills. So you can't bring you up to speed. You have to be able to do all this before you come in. Okay, this course format, everything online. So you have to have high technical competency, and if you don't have it, you need to get it. They have a learning center that will help you acquire those skills, so do a quick search. And for paragraph 2 here, this is asynchronous, but there is group work involved. And you may be asking, why group work, particularly when you do an online course? Well, the reason is because we are an AACSB accredited business school, and part of the accreditation requires that we do group work. And it makes sense too, because even though this is an online course, you still work with other people, and business is all about coordinating people and resources. So unfortunately, if you thought you were going to work alone in the course, sorry, that's not going to be the case. I mean, granted, most of your work will be by yourself, but there'll be a few instances where you do have to collaborate with people. So keep that in mind. Okay, let me speak a little about group presentations, which we hear. You can use narrated PowerPoint, Vimeo, YouTube, or other software as part of your online platform and host. You're going to make those links available to the class for review and commentary, and most importantly, group members will contribute an equitable portion toward the assignment. There's a grade for that, what you contribute. So, and again, I'll go over that as we do a briefing on the assignments. Ethics, a little boilerplate there. Almost all the cases that we're talking about will have some ethical dilemma. So it's really no hard and fast right and wrong answers, but the purpose is to go through the process, the critical analysis process. Essentially, that's what more than half of this course is about. It's how do you critically examine problems, and how do you solve them as if you were in the driver's seat. So let's say, for example, there's a case that involves Apple and Steve Jobs is alive. Essentially, you assume the role of the lead character, the protagonist, and you decide, okay, this is what I would do if I were faced with this situation. That may not be the same, but the point is that you have to be able to back up your ideas with some credible logic and facts that will support your statements. So more on that later. Academic dishonesty, they take it seriously here, and so do I. So make sure you don't cheat. Usually we don't have a lot of issues with that on the online courses, but there are ways that you can be found out. So don't let that be you. Usually what happens is you get sent over to Sandra Roten, who takes care of this sort of thing, and then she'll chew you out for a half hour, put your name in her book. If it happens the second time, you get kicked out of not just Cal State Fullerton, but all the California state universities. And I think that lasts for about 7 years, so it's just not worth it, so don't do it. Assessment activities, that's something that we do typically at the beginning of the semester. It's a diagnostic writing exam, and we do it throughout the semester too. We're also going to evaluate your speaking skills as well. This is a new thing we're doing, so I'm not really sure how that's going to play out, but I'll give you more information as I get it. But what we do is we determine where you're at as far as skills and abilities, and that enables us to plan our teaching and lessons and that sort of thing, and so that we can sort of meet where you're at. And Cal State emergency procedures, you guys don't have to worry too much about that, mainly because you don't have any meetings on campus. However, if you did, we'd give you the briefing about what to do during earthquakes and if crazy people are walking around campus. It's good to know all that stuff anyway, but we have to put it in there, so there it is. And the grading system. Let me talk a little bit about that. Minimum passing grade in this course is a 73, so you have to do more than the minimum. And as I said, that usually doesn't apply to our online people. They usually produce superior work, but just make you aware. Now let me also say, awarding of the grades of A, the letter grade A, that is very difficult to do. That is reserved for top tier performance. So if you're assuming that because you've had all A's in the past, that you'll get an A here, don't assume that, because I'll go over the rubric here in a little bit, but for the cases which count for more than 50% of the grade, and I'm including the final exam here, your writing has to be almost a journalistic quality. Your analysis has to be exceptional in that not only do you present the facts that are presented, but you have to go above and beyond. You extrapolate what the second or third step might be. You do outside research. Your paper is organized according to the proper format, and the spelling and grammar are flawless. That's A grade paper there, and it's tough to get. So if you find yourself in the A category, congratulations, because it's just not given. So keep that in mind. Okay, here's what we're going to be doing during the course. Basic skill building exercises like visual enhancements, negative reviews, negative employee performance reviews, that sort of thing. So we'll have 3 cases that count for some significant points. You can see that's like 30% of your grade. You'll also have an analytic report, which also is kind of a misnomer. And if any of you have seen Shark Tank in my live classes, when I asked for a show of hands, who's seen Shark Tank, 90% of the hands went up. That's what you're going to do. You're going to prepare a report for a startup, and it follows a specific format, so you should be fine. You just follow the outline there about the type of business that you would own in a dream world, and you're going to ask us for money to help you do get this startup off the ground. And you have to be able to rationalize it. You have to provide all the key information about the place, the people, the financing, all these type of things, as if you were doing this for real. We also have a group proposal that counts for 200 points. 150 is actually counts for the written, and it's 2 parts, the written and the presentation. Presentation will count for more, and you also see 50 points, which counts as your part of the participation in the group proposal. Now you have to be able to demonstrate unequivocally that you participated and that you added significant value to this presentation. Not too often, but I've had people in the past say, so-and-so didn't contribute, and here's the evidence. And I asked the person, is that so? They said, yeah, I contributed. And I said, where's the evidence? And they couldn't present any, so they didn't get those participation points, which is a half a letter grade. So make sure that when you do form up in groups, that you're actively participating and that you can provide a electronic or paper trail that you are actually producing. Homework, PowerPoints, that sort of thing, 10%, and final is 25%. Now that's a huge, huge chunk, which it's a case analysis, and again, I want you to be aware that that is a large part. I don't determine that. That's made at a pay grade higher than mine, but nonetheless, by the time you get done with all the cases, you should be able to produce a finished work of quality that will demonstrate that you understood and digested all the key elements in producing a case. So keep that in mind. And yeah, it's a lot, but as I said, that was decided at a pay grade higher than my own. Okay, exams, case studies. I'm not going to do the case studies through ProctorU, but the exams I may be forced to do that. I'm going to try to get out of that, but if possible, because it's just been more of a pain in the backside than it's actually added value. But if we do, read and keep this information in mind. I'll come back to it as we get closer to the final, but I'm really going to try to get out of that ProctorU bit because, once again, I'm just very unsatisfied with how it's gone, and well, we'll see. But I'm required to put that in there, so and review all of this stuff here. Okay. No extra credit in this class. This is real life. This isn't high school. So you get what you get. Okay. I have to put this stuff on what you're looking at right now. I have to put that on the syllabus. That is an AACSB requirement. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. So don't worry about it. Basically, it says these are the type of skill sets that we're going to be working on as you go through this course. So how it affects you, none at all. It's just a housekeeping item. So just ignore it. Technical difficulties, there's a number, there's an email address. Don't call me. I can't help it. I can't help the situation. Okay, if you have a disability, you got to call the Office of Disabled Student Services before I can do anything. There really literally is nothing I can do to assist you until I have a notification from them. So it's easy to get. So if you suspect that you have one or you do have one, let them know right away. And we'd be more than happy to make an accommodation for you. Shouldn't have to say this part, but behave like adults online. Treat people as you want to be treated. Make sure spelling and grammar are correct. Again, I've spoken about that. Work is timely. I don't take late assignments unless you specifically let me know in advance, and then we can work something out. And it has to be something good, not that the usual stuff like death or illness or whatever. So read all this. It's important to know, but chances are nearly almost all of you have read something similar to this in the past in courses. So again, act like responsible adults. That's all I'm asking. Okay. Here's the workload that we're going to be doing. Course timeline. First week is going to be the diagnostic exam. You'll see the weeks are broken up by dates, or the assignments are broken up by dates, and they become visible to you on, I think, on Sunday night, around midnight. Week 2, we'll be doing our first practice case. You can see there, it doesn't count for a lot of points. It's only 10 points. We also have a library session. Now, I'm trying to get the guys over at the library to provide online resources to help you. But if you can at all possible, go over to see Robert Sage. He's the business librarian, and have him give you a short briefing about how to use this, how to use the library for your projects. And I can't emphasize this enough. He is just a bottomless well of information that will assist you in preparing your presentation, particularly your business startup and your group presentations, because he'll be able to direct you to exactly the resources that you need in order to come up with the credible information you need for a solid written document. So, Robert Sage, Pollock Library. Also, go to the link for week 2 and download the PDFs that you need. Or like I said, it's a pack of 5. We call it a book, but it's technically not a book. It's like 50 pages long, all of them together. We have to order them in packs of 5. So, I'm sorry about that. But that's the arrangement that we have with McGraw-Hill. And you'll read the first one, Millennium Media. Yeah, I'll come back to that later, but whenever you download these cases, make sure that you read it thoroughly, number one. Go back and read it a second time. But the second time, print it out, start writing in the margins, and then remember the old cliche, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Highlight all that key bit of information, and this will help you prepare as you do your first practice case, all right? So, first 2 weeks is mostly housekeeping, but then from week 3 onward, we get serious. Week 3, we'll do your first case, and that'll count for 100 points, and we have, then you'll have, after that, you will be required to provide with your proposal. That would be a proposal of what you plan to do for your business startup. So you have a couple of weeks to think about it. If you know already, then you're good to go. Most people don't know. Most people decide they, really just want to get a job first. But think, in your ideal world, what if you could reach out and have, several $100,000, even millions of dollars to work with, what would you do? The idea behind all this is to help you reach for something and develop your creative and critical analysis skills, so that hopefully that you can be developed along the lines your career that is most beneficial to you. Finally, week 4, third case, some visual enhancements. Mission Impossible will be the case. So once again, same drill as before. And then finally, week 5 will be case 4. That's where you'll be the first one that you'll work together. And it'll be a case, but not only a case, but you'll do your first group presentation together. It's low impact, it's only 20 points. But the idea is to work out the bugs as a team first. Figure out who's going to do what, learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. And you'll also do a press release and so on. So later on, as you've had a little bit of practice doing the cases, you work together as a group, and that will move you toward the end goal of doing your final group project together. Finally, week 6, pretty light stuff. It's not done on purpose because I want you guys to start working toward the big ticket items, which is week 7 and week 8. Your individual report, which I said is similar to the Shark Tank presentation, and your team presentation or proposals. Now that can be the same thing. Team presentation proposals can be a startup or it can be a problem solving. Problem solving can be something similar to, say, Best Buy or Wet Seal, or really having struggling as businesses right now. You could solve that, help to solve the problem of why they're struggling as a business, and create as a team some solid solutions toward that end. That is probably one of the easier things to do. It basically is just a big case. But you can do startups, or you can also work as for nonprofits as well, which I strongly encourage. And finally, we have the final exam, which counts for 250 points. So that's it for the syllabus. Now let me pause here a little bit and go to the rubric. And this is something that you're going to need to know backwards and forwards. Okay. Sorry about the jump in the visual continuity there, but this is pretty important. You really, really need to know this. It's called the CLASS rubric, CLASS. It stands for Content, Literacy, Audience, Strategy, and Style. Now, let me point out the most important one. It's this one, literacy. You'll see that there's an asterisk right there. And what that means is that if you fail in that portion of it, in other words, let's look at what very poor looks like. You make numerous serious grammatical and syntactical errors. You frequently misspell homonyms, fail to run spell checks, and exhibit carelessness. That is automatically knocks you down to a 72. And my threshold for that is 5 mistakes. Usually, most of the documents you're going to produce are a page, 1 page and a half. If you have 5 mistakes on a single page, then it's poorly done. But let's look at what good looks like. Proofreads well enough to eliminate most grammatical errors. May have minor problems with punctuation or usage. Okay, so there's a couple of little leeway in there. You don't have to have it 100% perfect, but you do have to have done a good job looking at it. The other thing I want to point out along those same lines is style. This is your writing abilities, but also the format. So if it calls for a memo, make sure that you get out your business writer's guide and you follow the memo format. It's very specific. Letters also follow a specific format. So keep that in mind. If you use garbled style of writing, if you wrote, like for here, write notably awkward manner, don't have subject-verb agreement, misuses words, slang, that sort of thing, then it's not going to receive a very good grade. Read your document out loud first, and that will help a lot. You guys also have the additional benefit, since it's online, to have somebody proofread this. 2 sets of eyes are always better than 1. Probably will catch your mistakes. Let's see, what else? I also want to speak about the strategy. That is something that is incredibly important. Whenever you do the case analysis, the biggest mistake people make regarding a strategy is they tell me exactly what I know already. And the idea here is use critical thinking. Go above and beyond what's on the document. Tell us what we don't know. Extrapolate out to the second or third step. Use outside sources of information to support your ideas. Remember, you only have a page and a half, so what is required here is strong, tight writing. Solve the problem in the shortest amount of time possible. A lot of times people come into the class thinking they're going to use those same writing styles that they have in the past in English 101, and the answer to that is a solid no. No, don't do that. Shorter is better, and so make sure you do that. Here it says you employ a good strategy. You find a fresh way of solving the problem, which means you don't tell us what we see on the page or what we already know. Think of a creative, effective way to solve the problem. And content case, make sure you understand what's being asked of you. I can remember a time whenever I had submitted to the students a case that was comparison and contrast between Adobe, General Dynamics, and Hilton Hotels. And one of the students wrote about Google and completely skipped the other two. That demonstrates a clear misunderstanding of what they're required to do. So in that case, they would be down here in a very poor. And so you don't want that. A good handles all elements of the case with skill, develops and supports ideas in a better than average way. And finally, audience. Let me say this about audience. Business writing is completely audience focused. Completely. In English 101, you'd write general, broad ideas that could be addressed to anybody. Academic writing, the same thing. Presenting ideas about your perception and analysis of maybe a paper or whatever. Here, this is aimed at specific people. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, we're trying to develop documents or a communication strategy for people who use the Grand Canyon. We want them to obey the rules and respect the environment, but at the same time, we want them to enjoy it. And there's all kinds of people who come to the Grand Canyon. Well, let's pick three. Elementary age school children who come in groups, the elderly retirees, and also foreigners make up a big chunk. Well, the children, how would you address them with that problem? You would bring them into one of the meeting rooms or audience and have one of the rangers speak to them. Emphasize the importance of following the rules, how we want to protect the animals and the plants. Give out ranger badges, coloring books, reward positive behaviors, this type of thing. Elderly, they may have be physically visibly or have hearing impairments. So you would have a docent to lead them around and speak to them in small groups. You provide them with literature, that sort of thing. They're pretty good about following rules because they've been doing it their whole life. So they wouldn't require a lot of oversight, but they may need additional assistance with the information. Foreigners, a lot of visual cues that are interpreted easily across cultures. Possibly in their own language, possibly docents that speak their language. So you can see, completely different for all three audiences. This is what I mean, adopting the you attitude, being aware of people's needs. So make sure that you don't overlook that. Many people do. So, okay, the last thing I'm going to say is that we're going to follow the 5-step case analysis during this course. I'll talk a little bit about that next week. But if not, look it up. I think it's available under week 2, but we're going to use that and follow that to the T. It's something else that you need to learn backwards and forwards is that format. Pretty easy to follow. Not a lot of wiggle room there. So, but I think I've covered most everything we need to talk about. So we'll just wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you have a wonderful semester. If there's anything I can do to support a goal of yours or help you move forward in your career, let me know. Be happy to do it. And once again, welcome to the class. I look forward to our time together.